The alien soil crunched under Major Alexis Ree's combat boots as she sprinted towards the source of the distress signal. Her pulse pounded in her ears, drowning out the chaos of the Zarkai invasion force laying waste to the peaceful Elorian settlement. Through the smoke and debris, Alexis caught sight of her targets, two young Elorian females cowering behind a crumbling wall. Their large, luminescent eyes were wide with terror as the Zarkai troops closed in, energy weapons humming ominously. Alexis knew she had seconds to act before these innocent civilians became casualties of a war that had already claimed far too many lives. She tightened her grip on her plasma rifle and launched into action. The first Zarkai soldier fell before he even registered Alexis' presence, a precise shot piercing his armored carapace. His comrades whirled to face this new threat, giving Alexis the opening she needed. She vaulted over a pile of rubble, landing between the Elorians and their would-be captors. "Stay down," Alexis barked at the frightened aliens as she unleashed a barrage of plasma fire. The air crackled with energy as she systematically took down the Zarkai squad. When the last enemy fell, Alexis turned to the Elorians, her voice softening. "It's okay. I'm here to help. Can you understand me?" The taller of the two nodded, her voice trembling as she spoke in halting English. "Yes, thank you, human savior. I am Nyla, and this is my sister Vira. You saved our purity." Alexis' brow furrowed at the odd phrasing, but there wasn't time to dwell on it. "We need to move. More Zarkai will be here soon. Can you run?" Nyla and Vera nodded, their willowy forms graceful even in their fear. Alexis led them through the ruins of their settlement, her enhanced senses on high alert for any signs of pursuit. As they ran, she activated her comlink. "Echo Team, this is Reeves. I secured 2 Elorian civilians and am en route to Extraction Point Delta. Request immediate evac." "Copy that, Major," came the response. "Dropship inbound, ETA 3 minutes. Be advised, we're detecting heavy Zarkai activity in your sector." As if on cue, the distinctive whine of Zarkai hover tanks filled the air. Alexis swore under her breath, quickly ushering Nyla and Vera into the shelter of a half-collapsed building. "Listen carefully," she told the Elorians. "When I give the signal, I need you to run as fast as you can to that ridge." She pointed to a rocky outcropping about 200 meters away. "A ship will be there to take you to safety. Don't stop, don't look back. Understand?" Vira, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "But what about you, Major Reeves?" Alexis managed a reassuring smile. "I'll be right behind you. Now get ready." She peered out from their hiding spot, watching the Zarkai tanks draw closer. Alexis took a deep breath, steeling herself for what came next. With practiced efficiency, she primed a cluster of plasma grenades. "Now," Alexis shouted, hurling the grenades at the approaching tanks. The resulting explosion rocked the ground, temporarily disorienting the Zarkai forces. Nyla and Vera sprinted towards the extraction point, their long legs carrying them swiftly across the broken terrain. Alexis provided covering fire, her rifle spitting superheated plasma at any Zarkai who dared show themselves. The whine of engines announced the arrival of the human dropship just as Alexis reached the ridge. She all but threw Nyla and Vera into the open bay before diving in herself, plasma bolts sizzling past her head. "Go, go, go," Alexis shouted to the pilot. The dropship's engines roared as it lifted off, narrowly evading a barrage of Zarkai anti-aircraft fire. As the adrenaline of combat began to fade, Alexis slumped against the hull, her breathing ragged. She looked over at Nyla and Vera, who were huddled together, their large eyes fixed on her with a mixture of awe and something else, something Alexis couldn't quite place. "You're safe now," Alexis assured them, though a nagging feeling told her that her involvement with these 2 Elorians was far from over. Little did she know just how right that feeling would prove to be, or how her actions on this day would reshape the future of human-Elorian relations forever. As the dropship soared towards the orbiting human carrier, Nyla leaned close to her sister. The prophecy, she whispered in their native tongue. Could it be true? Vyra nodded solemnly. Our savior has come. Now we must fulfill our part. Their gaze returned to Alexis, who had no idea of the cultural storm that was about to engulf her, or the critical role she would play in the fate of two civilizations. The medical bay of the UES horizon hummed with activity as Dr. Elias Vance examined Nyla and Vyra. Alexis stood nearby, her armor still bearing scorch marks from the recent battle. She watched as the Elorians responded to the doctor's gentle questions, their luminescent eyes darting occasionally to her. Well, Major, Dr. Vance said, turning to Alexis, physically, they're in good shape. No serious injuries, but they seem anxious about something. Before Alexis could respond, the door slid open, revealing Admiral Helena Kosh. Her stern features softened slightly as she nodded to Alexis. Good work down there, Major. You've certainly made an impression on our Elorian guests. Nyla stood, her willowy form towering over the humans. Honored leaders, she began, her voice melodious despite her halting English. We must speak of an urgent matter. It concerns our savior, Major Rees. Alexis felt a knot forming in her stomach. Something in Nyla's tone set off warning bells in her mind. Admiral Kosh raised an eyebrow. Go on. Vyra joined her sister, their hands clasped together. In our culture, when a warrior saves the purity of unmarried females, there is a sacred ritual that must be performed. We must offer ourselves to our savior. A heavy silence fell over the room. Alexis blinked, certain she had misheard. I'm sorry, what? Dr. Vance cleared his throat awkwardly. Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding, Nyla insisted. This is our most honored tradition. To refuse would bring great shame to our families and risk the alliance between our peoples. Admiral Kosh's expression remained neutral, but Alexis could see the wheels turning behind her eyes. The Elorians were a crucial ally in the war against the Zarkei. Their advanced biotechnology and strategic position in the galaxy made them invaluable. But this was unprecedented. Major Rees, the Admiral said carefully, a word in private, please. They stepped into the corridor, leaving Dr. Vance to continue his examination of the Elorian sisters. As soon as the door closed, Alexis turned to her superior officer. Admiral, you can't seriously be considering this. Kosh held up a hand. I don't like it any more than you do, Alexis. But we're walking a diplomatic tightrope here. The Elorian High Council has already sent a priority communication. They're aware of the situation. Alexis ran a hand through her short, dark hair. This is insane. It's completely unethical, not to mention against about a dozen regulations. I'm well aware, Kosh replied, her voice tight. But the Elorian ambassador made it clear. In their culture, this isn't just some quaint tradition. It's a cornerstone of their societal structure. Refusing could be seen as a grave insult, possibly even grounds for dissolving our alliance. The implications hung heavy in the air. Without Elorian support, humanity's chances against the Zarkei would plummet. Millions of lives hung in the balance. Alexis leaned against the wall, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. What am I supposed to do? Admiral Kosh's expression softened slightly. For now, we buy time. I've requested cultural experts from Earth to advise us. In the meantime, I need you to keep our guests comfortable and stall. Stall? Alexis echoed incredulously. You're resourceful, Major. Figure it out. Dismissed. As Admiral Kosh strode away, Alexis was left alone in the corridor, her mind reeling. She had faced down Zarkei battle fleets and survived suicide missions deep in enemy territory, but nothing in her training had prepared her for this. Taking a deep breath, Alexis steeled herself and re-entered the medical bay. Nyla and Vyra turned to her expectantly, hope shining in their alien eyes. Dr. Vance shot her a sympathetic look. Ladies, Alexis began, forcing a smile. Why don't I give you a tour of the horizon? We can discuss your request as we walk. As they left the medical bay, Alexis racked her brain for a way out of this situation. She had faced overwhelming odds before, but this time the battlefield was cultural understanding, and the stakes were higher than ever. Little did she know that light years away, on the Elorian homeworld, heated debates were already raging about the future of their species and their place in the galactic community. The actions of one human soldier were about to catalyze changes that would reshape the destiny of two civilizations. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, Zarkai spies intercepted fragments of communication about the unfolding drama. Their hive mind buzzed with possibilities, seeing in this cultural clash a potential weakness to exploit. The game was only beginning, and Alexis Reeves found herself an unwitting player on a cosmic stage. The following days aboard the UES Horizon were a delicate dance of diplomacy and cultural navigation. Alexis found herself constantly shadowed by Nyla and Vera, their eager presence a constant reminder of the ticking diplomatic time bomb. As they stood in the ship's observation deck, gazing out at the star-speckled vastness of space, Alexis tried once again to gently deflect their expectations. In human culture, she explained, choosing her words carefully, intimate relationships are built on mutual feelings that develop over time. It's not something we rush into, especially not as a matter of duty. Nyla's luminescent eyes shimmered with confusion. But Major Reeves, don't you feel the connection between us? The prophecy speaks of a warrior from the stars who would save our purity and usher in a new era of unity. Alexis suppressed a sigh. This prophecy was a new wrinkle, one that made her increasingly uneasy. Nyla Vera, I'm honored that you think so highly of me, but I'm just a soldier doing my job. I'm not some prophesied savior. Vera, usually the quieter of the two, spoke up. But you are, Alexis. Your actions have set events in motion that cannot be undone. Our people await news of the ritual's completion. Songs are already being sung of your bravery. The pressure of their expectations weighed heavily on Alexis. She was safe from responding by the chime of her comlink. Major Rees to the bridge. Immediately came Admiral Kosh's terse voice. I have to go, Alexis said, perhaps a bit too eagerly. Please enjoy the view. I'll talk more later. As she hurried to the bridge, Alexis felt a mix of relief and guilt. The Elorian sister's devotion was genuine, making the situation all the more complicated. The bridge was a flurry of activity when Alexis arrived. Admiral Kosh stood at the central holographic display, her face grim. Major, we have a situation. The display showed a sector of space near the Elorian homeworld. Red icons representing Zarkai ships swarmed at the edges. They're massing for an attack, Kosh explained. But that's not the worst of it. Intelligence suggests they know about our cultural predicament. Alexis felt her blood run cold. How? Doesn't matter, Kosh said sharply. What matters is they're using it. They've issued an ultimatum to the Elorian High Council. Either they withdraw from their alliance with humanity, or the Zarkai will launch a full-scale invasion. They can't seriously be considering it, Alexis breathed. Kosh's expression was grave. That's where you're wrong, Major. The Elorian population is divided. Some see this as a sign that the prophecy is false, that humans are not the allies they thought we were. There are protests in the capital as we speak. The weight of the situation crashed down on Alexis. What had started as a personal ethical dilemma had escalated into a potential diplomatic catastrophe with galaxy-wide repercussions. What do you need me to do, Admiral? Alexis asked, straightening her posture. We're sending you to the Elorian homeworld. You'll be accompanied by our top xenanthropologist, Dr. Lyra Chen. Your mission is to speak directly to the High Council, smooth things over, and if possible, find a way to fulfill this damned ritual without compromising your integrity or ours. Alexis nodded, her mind already racing with the implications. And if we can't? Admiral Kosh's eyes hardened. Then we might lose this war before the real fighting even begins. Dismissed, Major. And Reeves, the fate of two species rests on your shoulders. Don't screw this up. As Alexis left the bridge, her steps felt heavier than ever. She made her way back to the observation deck, where Nyla and Vera waited expectantly. There's been a change of plans, Alexis told them, forcing a smile. We're going to your homeworld. The sisters' faces lit up with joy, but Alexis couldn't shake the foreboding feeling in her gut. As the horizon changed course, setting off for Eloria, Alexis knew that the real challenges were only beginning. Somewhere in the vastness of space, Zarkai war fleets gathered, their hive mind buzzing with anticipation. They sensed weakness, a fracture in the alliance they had come to fear. Soon, they would strike, and the galaxy would tremble. But first, a human soldier had to navigate the treacherous waters of alien culture, with the lives of billions hanging in the balance. Alexis Reeves took a deep breath, steeling herself for the trials to come. The next few days would determine the fate of humanity, the Elorians, and the very future of the galaxy itself. The Elorian capital city of Lumina was a breathtaking sight as Alexis' shuttle descended through the planet's atmosphere. Towering spires of crystalline material caught the light of the twin suns, creating a dazzling display that belied the tension gripping the city. As they touched down on a landing pad near the High Council chambers, Alexis turned to Dr. Lyra Chen, the xenanthropologist who had been briefing her throughout the journey. Remember, Major, Lyra said, her dark eyes serious. Every gesture, every word will be scrutinized. The Elorians value harmony above all else. We need to find a way to fulfill their cultural expectations without compromising our own ethics. Alexis nodded, her jaw set with determination. Understood, Doctor. Let's hope your crash course in Elorian culture pays off. As they disembarked, they were met by a delegation of Elorian officials. At their head stood Arbiter Thaler, his ornate robes shimmering with bioluminescent patterns. His eyes, larger and more expressive than those of Nyla and Vera, regarded Alexis with a mixture of hope and wariness. Major Rees, he intoned, his voice resonating with a musical quality, your arrival has been greatly anticipated. The High Council awaits. As they were led through the winding corridors of the council chambers, Alexis couldn't help but notice the murals depicting ancient Elorian mythology. One, in particular, caught her eye, a towering figure from the stars surrounded by adoring Elorians. The parallels were uncomfortably clear. The High Council chamber was a vast amphitheater, with tiered seating filled with Elorian dignitaries. At the center stood a raised platform where Nyla and Vera waited, adorned in ceremonial garb that seemed to glow from within. As Alexis took her place on the platform, a hush fell over the assembly. Arbiter Thaler's voice rang out, Esteemed Council, we stand at a crossroads. Before us is the warrior from the stars, spoken of in our most ancient prophecies. Yet, the divine union remains unconsummated, and our enemies gather at our borders. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Alexis felt the weight of countless eyes upon her. This was it, the moment that could determine the fate of two civilizations. Taking a deep breath, Alexis stepped forward. Honored Council, I stand before you not as a figure of prophecy, but as a soldier, an ally, and a friend. I have the utmost respect for your culture and traditions, but I also represent humanity with our own beliefs and ethical standards. She paused, gauging the reaction. The Elorians listened intently, their luminescent eyes fixed upon her. I propose a compromise, Alexis continued, her voice growing stronger. A union not of bodies, but of minds and purpose. In human culture, we have a concept called blood brotherhood, a bond forged in battle and sacrifice that goes beyond mere physical connection. Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she realized where Alexis was going with this. She gave a subtle nod of encouragement. I offer to undertake a ritual of my own design, Alexis declared. One that will bind me to Nyla and Vera, and by extension, to all Elorians, in a way that honors both our cultures. A true alliance, sealed in blood and steeped in the traditions of both our peoples. The chamber erupted in discussion. Arbiter Thaler raised his hands for silence. This is unprecedented. How would such a ritual be performed? Alexis locked eyes with Naila and Vera, seeing a glimmer of understanding in their gaze. With the help of Elorian biotechnology and the wisdom of your scientists, we will create a ceremony that allows for a true melding of minds, a sharing of memories, experiences, and purpose. It will be a union far deeper than any physical act could achieve. The council chambers buzzed with excitement and apprehension. Dr. Chen stepped forward, adding her expertise to Alex's proposal, explaining how such a merger of consciousnesses could be achieved safely using a combination of human and Elorian technology. As the council debated, a junior arbiter rushed into the chamber, his face etched with panic. Honored ones, we have received word. The Zarkai fleet has begun its advance. They demand an answer within the hour, or they will open fire. The chamber fell into chaos. Alexis locked eyes with Arbiter Thaler, her voice cutting through the din. We're out of time. Will you trust me? Will you take this leap of faith? For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, Thaler was silent. Then, with a grace that belied the gravity of the moment, he nodded. Prepare the ritual chamber. Let it be done. As Alexis was led away to prepare for the unprecedented ceremony, she caught a glimpse of Dr. Chen's face, a mixture of scientific curiosity and deep concern. Whatever happened next would change the course of history, not just for humanity and the Elorians, but for the entire galaxy. The Zarkai ships loomed ever closer, their weapons primed. In a hidden laboratory deep within the council chambers, Elorian scientists worked feverishly alongside Dr. Chen to modify their biotechnology for this new purpose. And at the center of it all stood Alexis Reeves, a soldier-turned-diplomat, about to undergo a transformation that would challenge the very essence of what it meant to be human. The fate of two worlds now rested on the success of her daring gambit. The ritual chamber hummed with an otherworldly energy as Alexis, Naila, and Vyra took their positions around a pulsating crystalline structure. Elorian scientists bustled about, making last-minute adjustments to the delicate machinery that would facilitate the mind-melding process. Dr. Chen approached Alexis, her face a mask of professional calm belying the anxiety in her eyes. Major, are you absolutely certain about this? The risks are considerable. Alexis nodded, her jaw set with determination. We're out of options, Doctor. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. As the scientists attached gossamer-thin neural interfaces to their temples, Alexis caught sight of her reflection in a polished surface. She barely recognized the woman staring back at her, part soldier, part diplomat, and now perhaps something entirely new. Arbiter Thaler's voice rang out, resonating with ceremonial gravity. Let the binding of souls commence. May the wisdom of the ancients guide us in this unprecedented union. The crystal structure between them began to pulse with increasing intensity. Alexis felt a tingling sensation at her temples, spreading rapidly throughout her body. She locked eyes with Naila and Vera, seeing a mixture of fear and anticipation mirrored in their alien features. Suddenly, the world around Alexis dissolved into a kaleidoscope of memories and sensations. She was a child on Earth, skinning her knee on the playground. She was Naila, taking her first steps on the bioluminescent plains of Eloria. She was Vera, gazing in wonder at the stars, dreaming of worlds beyond. The experiences came faster, more intense. Alexis relived her first battle against the Zarkai, felt the terror and exhilaration as if for the first time. But now, intertwined with her memories were glimpses of Elorian history, ancient wars, periods of enlightenment, the first contact with humanity. Through it all, a deeper understanding began to form. The hopes, fears, and dreams of two vastly different species melded and intertwined. Alexis felt her consciousness expanding, encompassing perspectives she had never imagined possible. Just as the sensation threatened to overwhelm her, a new presence made itself known. A vast alien intelligence pressed against the edges of their shared mindscape. The Zarkai had begun their attack. In that moment of crisis, something extraordinary happened. The combined consciousness of Alexis, Naila, and Vera reached out, tapping into Elorian defense systems with unprecedented synchronicity. Through their shared bond, Alexis' tactical knowledge melded with Elorian biotechnology in ways never before possible. Outside the ritual chamber, the Elorian capital erupted into chaos as the first Zarkai assault pods breached the upper atmosphere. But the defenders were ready, guided by a strategic mind that operated on a level beyond anything seen before. Bioluminescent defense towers pulsed with energy, unleashing precisely targeted bursts that decimated the first wave of attackers. Swarms of microscopic drones, controlled by the melded consciousness, infiltrated Zarkai ships, disrupting their systems from within. Admiral Kosh, watching the battle unfold from the bridge of the UAS horizon, marveled at the sudden turn of events. "My God," she breathed, "what have we unleashed?" As the battle raged on, Alexis/Nyla/Vera, for they were now one entity in many ways, coordinated a counteroffensive that pushed the Zarkai back on multiple fronts. The invaders, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with superior numbers and technology, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. In orbit, the human fleet engaged the Zarkai armada, their tactics augmented by insights flowing from the merged consciousness below. Ships danced through debris fields with impossible precision, striking at weak points the enemy never knew they had. Hours passed like minutes, the tide of battle shifting inexorably in favor of the Allied forces. Finally, as the twin suns of Eloria began to set, the remaining Zarkai ships turned tail and fled, jumping to hyperspace in a desperate retreat. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Alexis felt the merged consciousness begin to unravel. The last thing she saw before blackness took her was a vision of Nyla and Vera, their faces etched with a mixture of awe and profound understanding. When Alexis awoke, she found herself in a medical bay, Dr. Chen hovering anxiously nearby. "Major, can you hear me? Do you know where you are?" Alexis blinked, her mind still reeling from the experience. I'm me, but also more." She struggled to find the words to express the profound change she felt. Dr. Chen nodded, making notes on her datapad. "The neural scans are off the charts. Whatever happened in there, it's changed you on a fundamental level." Before Alexis could respond, the door slid open, revealing Admiral Kosh and Arbiter Thaler. The Elorian's eyes shimmered with an emotion Alexis couldn't quite place. "Major Reeves," Kosh began, her voice uncharacteristically gentle, "you've done it. The Zarkai have been routed, and the Elorian High Council has unanimously voted to strengthen our alliance." Thaler stepped forward, bowing deeply. "You have fulfilled the prophecy in ways we never could have imagined. The binding of souls has ushered in a new era for both our peoples." As the implications of what had transpired began to sink in, Alexis realized that her journey was far from over. The bond she now shared with Nyla and Vera, and by extension, with all of Eloria, would reshape the future of interstellar relations. The battle was won, but the true challenge of bridging two vastly different cultures was just beginning. And somewhere in the depths of space, the remnants of the Zarkai fleet regrouped, their hive mind buzzing with fear and a newfound respect for their adversaries. The galaxy would never be the same, and Alexis Reeves stood at the center of the coming storm. In the weeks following the Battle of Eloria, Alexis Reeves found herself at the center of a whirlwind of diplomatic activity, scientific inquiry, and personal discovery. The neural link forged during the ritual had faded, but its effects lingered, fundamentally altering her perception of the world and worlds around her. Alexis stood before a wall-sized window in the newly established Joint Species Cooperation Center, gazing out at the bustling Elorian capital. The cityscape had changed, human architecture now seamlessly blending with the crystalline spires of Lumina. It was a physical manifestation of the unprecedented alliance that had formed in the wake of their shared victory. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Admiral Kosh's voice came from behind her. Alexis turned, snapping to attention out of habit. Kosh waved her off with a small smile. "At ease, Ambassador Reeves. I think we're well past such formalities now." The title still felt strange to Alexis. Ambassador. It was a far cry from the battlefield command she had trained for, yet she knew this new role was just as crucial in securing humanity's future. How are you adjusting? Kosh asked, genuine concern in her voice. Alexis considered the question carefully. It's challenging. I still have moments where I'm not sure if a memory is mine or theirs, but it's getting easier. Kosh nodded sympathetically. Dr. Chen's reports indicate that the neural changes are stabilizing. Your unique perspective has already proven invaluable in our negotiations with the Elorian High Council. Before Alexis could respond, the door slid open, revealing Nyla and Vera. Though no longer connected by the intense bond of the ritual, there was still a palpable sense of intimacy between the three of them. Alexis, Nyla said, her melodious voice tinged with excitement, the first joint human-Elorian research team is ready to present their findings. They believe they've made a breakthrough in adapting our biotechnology for human physiology. Vera nodded, adding, and the cultural exchange program has seen a surge in applicants from both worlds. It seems your actions have inspired a new generation to bridge the gap between our species. Alexis felt a swell of pride and hope. This was what they had fought for, not just survival, but the chance to grow and evolve together. Admiral Kosh cleared her throat. As promising as these developments are, we can't forget the larger threat. Our long-range scouts have detected increased Zarkai activity on the fringes of known space. They're regrouping, possibly planning their next move. The mood in the room sobered. The victory at Eloria had been decisive, but the war was far from over. Which is why, Kosh continued, Earth Central Command has green-lit Project Synthesis. Ambassador Reeves, we want you to lead a team of human and Elorian volunteers in undergoing a refined version of the consciousness melding process. Alexis blinked, taken aback. You want to create more hybrids? Kosh nodded grimly. We need every advantage we can get. A course of officers who can seamlessly interface with both human and Elorian technology, who understand both cultures at the deepest level. It could be the key to not just winning this war, but ensuring lasting peace. The implications were staggering. Alexis looked to Nyla and Vera, seeing her own mix of apprehension and determination mirrored in their alien features. There are risks, Vera said softly. The process nearly overwhelmed you, Alexis, to subject others to it. But the potential benefits are enormous, Nyla countered. Imagine the scientific and cultural advancements we could achieve with truly unified minds working together. Alexis took a deep breath, centering herself. In that moment, she felt the weight of two civilizations on her shoulders. But she also felt the strength that came from their union, the best of humanity and Eloria, combined in ways they were only beginning to understand. We'll do it, Alexis said firmly, but we proceed carefully, ethically. This isn't about creating super soldiers or erasing our differences. It's about building a bridge between our peoples that can withstand any challenge. Admiral Kosh nodded, a hint of pride in her eyes. I knew we could count on you, Reeves. The future of our alliance is in good hands. As they left the room to begin preparations for this next great endeavor, Alexis paused for one last look out the window. The twin suns of Eloria were setting, casting a warm glow over the city. In the fading light, she could almost see the shape of the future they were building, a future of unity, discovery, and hope. But on the horizon, barely visible, a storm was gathering. The Zarkai were still out there, nursing their wounds and planning their revenge. The true test of this new human-Elorian alliance was yet to come. Alexis Reeves, once a simple soldier, now stood at the forefront of a new era in galactic history. As she turned away from the window, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew one thing with certainty. Together, united in mind and purpose, they would forge a future brighter than any single species could have imagined. The next chapter of their grand adventure was just beginning, and the stars themselves seemed to shine with possibilities.